am Richard F. Lyle, and you are watching The Guide to Plein Air Painting, Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Composition. Originally, the chapter was going to outline what you should do while painting outdoors to assure good composition. After viewing the Chapter 1 and seeing that it was not just for established artists, but also for new artists as well, I felt that I had to cover composition in a more detailed way to help the first-timers. Everything you need to know about composition cannot be covered in any video or book. It takes a lifetime. A good composition is the difference between an artist and a great artist. It's no magic brushstroke or techniques. It's all about the composition and how you deliver your subject. I will first talk about 7 quick rules that I feel every artist should know. No rule in art is 100%, but if you break any of the rules, you should know why. Then I will talk about what you need to know and do to help assure that you have a good composition while painting outdoors. When you first step outdoors to paint, it can be overwhelming. Now, let's start with the 7 rules. Rule 1, the Golden Rule. Leonardo da Vinci is most likely the most famous artist when you talk about the Golden Rule. It happens to be the ratio that is repeated over and over in nature. Now, I could make a whole video about the Golden Rule, but this video is for artists, not engineers. So to make it simple, the ratio is 1.618. So, if you take your canvas size and multiply it by 0.618, you will find the first primary Golden Rule point. Now, if you take the space of that first primary point and multiply it again by 0.618, you will have the secondary Golden Rule point, just like in harmonics with sound. If you look at the famous painting by Leonardo, The Last Supper, you will see that he used this rule over and over for each subject in the painting. They do sell dividers you can buy that will show you the Golden Rule point for any given space. As a plein air artist, I already carry too much, but I can see it as a useful tool in the studio. With most good paintings, you will see that the subject of interest does fall on one of the Golden Rule primary points. Most plein air artists do not worry about the secondary points. When working outdoor with the changing light, you do not have the time. Every canvas has 4 possible locations for the Golden Rule primary point. Now, let's look at a painting and see how the Golden Rule fits. Here I drew the vertical and horizontal Golden Rule primary point lines. Even before I drew in the lines, I believe everyone knew the dead tree was the center of interest. You do not need the center of the subject of interest to fall on the point. It's more interesting if you have it a little offset. In the painting, the offset is close to the golden point of the subject. If you look at the space of the center of interest and multiply it by 0.618, I think it would fall right on the golden point of the canvas. Now, we're going to talk about the second rule, the 1/3 rule. This is a more common rule used by plein air artists. It's also known as the tic-tac-toe rule. With this rule, you simply divide the canvas into 1/3. Looking at this marked up canvas, I think you can tell why people call it the tic-tac-toe rule. Here I have the same painting marked with yellow lines to find the top right 1/3 junction point. You can see that the center of interest still falls on that point. When working outdoors, it is much quicker to divide by 1/3 than try to multiply by 0.618. Now I show the painting with both the yellow 1/3 lines and the white 0.618 golden rule lines. You can see, because of the size of the subject of interest, it does not matter which rule you use. Now, if you are working in a studio on a portrait and you want the sparkle of light in one eye to be the point of interest, I would say use the golden rule. But in the great outdoors, painting landscapes, the 1/3 rule will work. Look at another painting. I think everyone can tell the flower of the water lily is the center of interest. Let's draw in the golden rule lines in white, and then the 1/3 rule lines in yellow. Once again, we see either rule will work. Let's look at the third rule, which is number of values. The standard rule for landscapes is that you have 4 values, 1 being the lightest and 4 being the darkest. 1 is the light source, often the sky. 2 is a horizontal plane, the ground. 3 is slopes, the mountains. 4 is a vertical plane, trees. Now this is just a standard, but if you are breaking one of these rules, you should understand why. You need to be careful to support that reason why all the way through the painting. Example, water as a horizontal plane reflects like a mirror, which can cause it to be a value 1 or 4. If the light is reflecting at you, it will be brighter than the sky. If the light is being reflected away from you, it will be darker than the upright plane. Now, as you work on the painting, you need your other shadows to support this light direction. Even as untrained artists will see that something is wrong if you make a mistake. When painting outdoors with a fast changing light, you need to watch that it does not change on you. If it does change, depending on where you are with the painting, you may need to come back on another day. Sometimes you may have more values, but the fewer the values, the stronger the painting. Here is a painting with only 3 values. With this other painting, because of water reflections, you have more than 1 value for the horizontal plane alone, giving the painting a total of 5 values. The 4th rule is point of interest. Things that can help define your point of interest. In this first painting, I used the contrast of the tree to make the center of interest. Making something the lightest or darkest subject in your painting is one of the most common ways to make the center of interest. Making something a different color than anything else in the painting will also make it a center of interest. In the next painting, by putting something man-made, the barn, into the painting, it became the center of interest. People in your painting will become the center of interest, as in the painting of the fly fisherman. The 5th rule is eye pointers. There are things that you put in your painting to help move the viewer's eyes around the painting. Let's look at the painting of the fly fisherman again. I have arrows showing how the lines in the painting direct the viewer to the point of interest. With the winter painting of the farm, I have arrows again showing you how lines in the painting direct the viewer to the barn, which is the center of interest. The painting of the Grand Canyon at Dead Horse Point also shows arrows that point the viewer to the center of interest. With this painting, the lines help you as the center of interest is not as strong as the other paintings. Rule number 6, eye flow. Let's look at the painting of the Grand Canyon again. This painting has great eye movement. You not only have the lines directing you to the center of interest, but you also have other lines that make the viewer's eyes keep moving around the painting. First, you see how the curved line in the foreground starts to move your eyes from the lower left corner to the upper right corner. The horizon lines then move your eyes to the center of interest. From there, another curved line moves your eyes back to the lower left corner. With a painting that has so much open space, it's important to keep the viewer's eyes moving, which gives the painting such depth and a feeling of freedom. When I look at this painting, I always feel like a bird, ready for flight. Number 7, the rule of line. I am going to talk about 4 types of lines. The 4 types of lines are convex, concave, crossing, and straight. Convex lines. In landscape paintings is a line that the 2 ends go down and the middle goes up. Most common example of convex lines is mountains. All lines in nature should be made up of convex or straight lines. Even if something like a valley between 2 mountains looks like it's a concave line, do not draw or paint it that way. Instead, draw it as a number of convex and straight lines added together. If you look closely, you will see that the valley is not one long concave line, but made up of many large and small convex lines. The convex line is said to be the lines in nature and a strong line. Concave lines are said to be weak and are used for man-made things. Examples would be a roof of a building, fence, or road. Remember, man is weak next to Mother Nature. It can also add a quality to your painting by making a fence or a roof more concave than it is. Straight lines. You need to be careful with straight lines. A long straight line can move the viewer's eye out of the painting. It can also work like a fence and keep the viewer out of your painting. The viewer's eye will always move very fast on a straight line. Crossing lines. Use crossing lines to break up long straight lines. Crossing lines stop the movement of the eye. One of the most common ways to stop the viewer's eye in a landscape painting that has a long line is to add a tree. Adding a small tree to the painting can take a weak composition and make it a strong composition. The biggest advantage an artist has over a photographer is to artist license. Do not be afraid to use it, but don't overdo it. By adding a small tree to break up a long line, which will give you a strong composition, I think that's when artistic license should be used. It will most likely have no effect on the subject. If someone was to carry the painting to that location, they would still know where you were standing. Most likely, they would just think that the small tree died. Who knows? Years later, it may even be there. Let's look at two paintings now. The first one is a farm in autumn. You can see all the trees, the slope, the rocks are all made up of convex lines. The roof on the barn is just a little concave. The wire fence is also made up of some convex lines. Nature is strong and man is weak. The next painting is an old homestead. In this painting, you can see how I have a small tree and a bush breaking up the fence. This allows the viewer to enter the painting. If the fence goes all across your painting, you need to put a break in it. This can also be done by putting in an open gate in the fence. Viewer needs a way to enter your painting. In this painting, you can also see how the mountains are made up of many small convex lines. Now, it's time to talk about how to keep a strong composition when painting outdoors. I will walk you through the process with an example of a painting I did. First, you need to find a motive. Here in this photo, you can see my motive, which was a farm with beehives. I would like to point out that it took me a long time to find just the right spot. Once you find your motive, you need to do a thumbnail drawing. This is most likely the most important step. Yet, this is the most common place for artists to try to skip. Thumbnail drawings only take a few minutes and are easy to make changes on, while making changes on your painting will take hours and may not even be possible. In my thumbnail drawing, I like to start in the middle of the page and work small. Often, I still need to start another thumbnail because I run out of room on the page. What would you do if you ran out of room on your painting? You would get a mess trying to fix it. That's what you would get. In this example thumbnail, you can see that I am nowhere near the center of the page with my drawing. But I did get the whole subject onto the page. This is not a problem with a thumbnail, but on a painting canvas it would be a disaster. On the thumbnail, I just marked off where the canvas edges would be. I also marked my values, which were 4 values. 1, the sky, 2, the horizontal plane, 3, the bright yellow tree in the foreground, and 4, the dark upright trees in the background. After I complete my thumbnail, it's time to set up my easel. Try to set up your easel so the direct sunlight does not shine on your canvas. Sometimes I need to set up with my back to the subject, but as a plein air artist, you have to make sacrifices. I bring more than one size canvas with me when I'm going painting. If I have to set up with my motive behind me, I will often use a smaller canvas. It will take me more time to paint if I need to keep turning around to see my motive. It takes less time to paint an 8x10 than a 16x20, so the two factors cancel each out. I will still be able to complete my painting in one sitting. After setting up my easel, it's time to transfer the thumbnail to the canvas. I use a mix of rose madder and yellow ochre. I mixed the two colors with a lot of thinner. Both of these colors are weak and are absorbed into the painting without leaving a trace. The mixture will be thinned so it's transparent like water paint. With my rigger brush, I outlined the thumbnail on the canvas. I would like to point out that my painting starts on a white canvas. I am now ready to start painting. First I will apply my underpainting, followed by the painting of the local colors or reflected colors that you see. Here is a photo of the completed painting. Hope you enjoyed it. Here is one more view of each painting I used in the video. I hope you enjoyed the video and keep coming back to absorb more knowledge. The guide for plein air artists is set up more like a video book than just like a book, you will need to view more than once.